You can have the best script in the world, the most wonderful content ever written, but if no one can follow it as they read it, then it's gonna get tossed out as junk. And we can't have that, can we? The formatting of a musical script, also known as the libretto, is pretty straightforward and intuitive once you know what you're looking for and what you're doing. And there's no one way to do this, just some general rules to follow to make it easy on the eyes of the reader so that they quickly know exactly what they're looking at and how it's supposed to function. Basically, it's all about clarity. You might be asking, well, why should we even care? It's a piece of theater. It's gonna be watched by an audience. It's not gonna be read. True, but in order to get your show on stage in the first place, it has to be read by those people who can make that happen. And these people have a lot of scripts to read all the time, so to make them work extra hard to read your beautifully crafted masterpiece that does not follow any of the general rules will just end in frustration and the no pile. And that's not helping anybody out in the end. We want more theater, not less. So here are some basic general rules to follow when formatting your musical script or libretto. Number 1, the title page. The title page should have your title centered with a subtitle, if you have one, and then it should have the contact information and names of the writers. If there's a singular writer, it should be on the bottom left corner, but if there's multiple writers, you can do it across the bottom. The only exception to this is if you're doing a blind submission. In that case, please leave off the author. Number 2, between the title page and the beginning of the script, we have what is considered the front matter of the script. The first thing that should go on the front matter is the time and the location of the piece itself. These descriptions should be short and sweet and to the point, and we should not belabor them unless there's something super specific that requires it. Now, the next piece of front matter is the character breakdown. The character breakdown should include a list of all of the characters with short descriptions for each of them. If performers are meant to play multiple characters, please note which performers are supposed to play which characters. In addition to the short description, if it pertains specifically to the character in your show, you can also include information about the age, gender, ethnicity, anything along those lines. However, if it is not pertinent to the material, there's no need to include it. I personally feel that way, and I know not everyone does. So you make your own decisions. These are just general guidelines. And then the last piece of front matter that you can include is any further notes. This can sometimes just be author notes, or it can be extra context that's needed before someone reads the piece, or sometimes it's a list of past productions or development. We then hit the first page of the script. Now the first page of the script should start your page numbering. There are a couple different systems you can use. The old school system is to do the act, scene, page number of that scene. I don't do it that way personally. Most modern musicals don't do it that way. You can just start with page number 1 and go up from there. Let's talk about font. Now the old classic way of doing things is to use 12-point Courier font. It looks a little dated now. You don't have to do it that way if you don't want to. There are a lot of font options out there. But the general rule is definitely 12-point font. And if you can find a font that is easily readable and also has pretty even spacing, then go ahead and use it. Margins. All of your margins should be 1 inch except for the left-hand margin. That should be 1.5 inches, and that's for binding purposes. Headers and footers. Now, the old way of doing things would mean that the title would be in the upper left-hand corner of the header, and the page number, that act, scene, number breakdown, would be on the upper right-hand corner. You do not have to do it this way. There are lots of ways to use your headers and your footers. I personally tend to put my name in the upper left-hand corner, the show's name in the upper right, and then do my page numbers on the bottom right. But really, as long as you're including the title for sure, and the page numbers for sure, then you can do it however you feel comfortable. Alright, now that we're into the script, let's talk about the look of the script itself. By the way, this video and the previous video are both being made because they were suggested topics from the community. So if you have a video that you'd like me to make or a topic you'd like me to cover, put it in the comments below and I will do my best to put that in the queue. Character names should always be centered on the page and in all caps. Dialogue. Dialogue is single-spaced, it is left-aligned, and it starts directly below the name of the character. There's no space between the character name and the start of that dialogue. Stage action gets a little bit trickier because there are a couple different things you have to note here. If there is stage action within a line that is dependent on what is being said right beforehand, then you do want to put it within the line itself. This type of stage action is going to be without normal sentence capitalization and without punctuation. Stage action that is not dependent on what is being said at the time will have a full space above and below, as well as actual sentence structure capitalization and punctuation. However, all types of stage action should always be indented 3 inches, and it should be in parentheses. When using character names within the parenthetical stage directions, it should be in all caps if and only if it is pertinent to the actor playing that role. For instance, if it says Henry exits, Henry should be capitalized. Song titles. Song titles can be stated within the stage directions themselves, or they can be separated out and just kind of listed boldly as though it's the start of that song. However, if there is music starting before the song proper happens, please indicate that in the script, and you can put that in the stage action. Now that's dialogue, but what about lyrics? Lyrics are indented from the left margin, they are in all caps, and they are single-spaced. Now, we do want to separate out our sections of lyrics by stanza, so you have one stanza grouped together, a blank space, and then another stanza. Whether that's a verse and a chorus sort of deal, or if it's the AABA sections of a 32-bar chorus. The question I see a lot is, where do you do your line breaks when you're writing out your lyrics? Honestly, it can be based on musical phrasing, and it could also be based on the rhyme scheme, or something in between, or both. It's really up to you and how you think it best reads off the paper. Now, the only other thing about lyrics is when you have more than one character singing at once, you want their separate lyrics to be in columns side by side. If you have more than just 2 people singing at the same time with different lyrics, then you can do 2, and then you can put the other one or the other groups below. You just want to make note that it's all happening simultaneously. What about how to end a scene or end an act? You can just end a scene. You don't have to write anything afterwards, and then you can just start a new scene. This can be with a new page, or it can be on the same page. It depends on the style of your show. As far as ending an act, you can just write end act 1, or end play, or blackout. It really doesn't matter at that point, just as long as it's clear to the reader what is happening in that moment. Now, any other formatting, or even adjusting the rules that I've mentioned, is totally up to you. As long as it is readable, clear, and consistent, however you're doing it right. If you'd like some examples of these, as well as some other technical writing concepts, the books mentioned in this video might point you in the right direction. Otherwise, thank you all for being here with me today, and I'll see you again soon. Cheers!